Hey everyone, Kellen here from Start Your Systems, back playing a little MXGP 2019 today at Petra Murata as part of the career mode. Continuing on with a little bit more of career mode gameplay. I've leveled up a ton. I've moved up to the MXGP class since the first installment, so this is my setup now. Got a Husky, got this kind of honestly ugly looking bike, but it just kind of goes with my gear, so figured I'd do that, and I didn't think it would be raining, but this is life as we have it. What I'm kind of hoping for, actually, now that I see it's raining, is it will have a dynamic weather race that I can show you guys. Dynamic weather, if you haven't played this game yet, or maybe if you haven't played it enough to see it, is basically during a moto, the weather can change. It usually happens when you play longer motos, or you play two motos back to back, but like it could be raining right now, and by the end of this moto, although it's only going to be about 4 or 5 laps, it could not be raining anymore, and then suddenly we just have a wet track, and then maybe even by the second moto we'd have a dry track. I don't know if that's going to happen, but those are possibilities at the very least. So kind of cool that potentially I could show you that today, and wow, I can't believe it let me cut that much of the track right there. Totally didn't mean to do that. But yeah, just wanted to get back into action a little bit today. I've been just absolutely dead when it comes to making videos in the last couple weeks. Really just because I guess mentally I've been completely exhausted from life as it is. But haven't done much career mode gameplay stuff on this particular game. You guys have probably seen, if you're an avid follower of the channel, a couple, like online racing things that I've done. I did a DMR race last week that was posted. The week before that I did some just multiplayer gaming with a couple of buddies of mine where we were just playing random tracks, doing some random things. So I hadn't, I believe, yet played Petra Murata as, part of the game on a video yet, so I figured I'd do it today as part of career mode, but more importantly, just kind of showing you guys kind of what you can do to upgrade your career character. In fact, let me pause it right now. So I have a fully upgraded bike, right? I have FMF exhaust, I have race tech suspension, I have Galfer brakes, I have all this different stuff. And what's kind of cool, and this was in Pro too, but you can have all these sponsors show up on your jersey. Renthal, Galfer, I don't know what, Warp 9, I think that is. We have Race Tech, FMF, and then obviously the main logo sponsor, OGO, which is right there on the top of the shroud, which I can move around and change if I want to. Like all that stuff appears actually as part of the bike. Warp 9, Renthal, Race Tech, all on the back fender. I think that's just kind of cool. Like, now we can ride for official teams in the game. So if you want to, you can ride for Red Bull KTM. You can ride for Honda HRC. You can ride for, Wivel, Yamaha, whatever. But you can also do this, custom skin where these sponsors that, technically speaking would be supporting you if this was a real-life motocross race end up on your graphics, which is what happens in real life as well. If you're, oh man, I can't think of like a privateer GP rider at the moment, but, let's just say you're Ben LeMay Racing Grand Prix where you're not on a factory team, and you have all these individual sponsors helping you out. You usually have all those sponsor stickers on your bike, on your gear somewhere, so that they get exposure if you ever make it onto TV or if you're in photos or whatever. And in pretty much every other game that I've played in the past, that has not been a thing. Even, as recently as MX's ATV All Out, or all the way back to, Motocross Madness or before, is rare that you'd have all these logos on you. So I thought that was kind of cool. I'm sure that if you've played this game, you've seen that. But for those of you that haven't, just something that I'd show off that, it was in Pro as well. But it just seems a little bit more kind of like fine-tuned in this game where there's more actual sponsor logos. And there's more flexibility with it. You can take your sponsors off and on your jersey if you want, off and on your bike if you want. And the main sponsor, which in this case for me is OGO, I can completely change the location and the size on the shroud where the logo appears. So a lot of customization factors that go into it. That's really cool, and just kind of like adds to the customization aspect of the game, which is just really, really nice, of course. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, that is one thing I don't think I've hit on in a video yet. Another thing that I've slowly gotten I don't know, I guess kind of better at is just like raw speed in this game. Those of you that have played the game a lot will probably understand this, but there's kind of like a real nuanced ability to apexing corners in this game that seems to work more than not. You know, like in real life, you would probably just hook into the best shaped rut, which usually is in some form at a good apex of a corner. But in this game, a lot of the time, it's pretty easy to just like swing in way outside right here, jam on the brakes, and cut to the inside and just kind of feather the throttle on the way out. And that's usually your best option through the corners. And overall, that's definitely improved my speed, I would say, especially compared not only to the AI, but online players. AI have been blowing out of the water quite easily since I've picked up on this technique. Online, I used to be well behind my friends and such who are pretty avid at playing this game, and then, you know, this past week I felt like I was a little bit closer to them, even though they still blew me out of the water. But at least I have picked up a couple things in terms of playability that I think have helped my cause, and just kind of passing along that information to you. Now, one thing I have not gotten into at all that I need to, and I need to figure out, is bike setups. They do affect the ability of the bike and, you know, what is capable of, you know, doing quick speeds and consistency and stuff like that. Because I was given a setup to do the DMR race that I did last week, and it, I think, helped me a lot. Just, you know, lap time wise, my lap time dropped a couple seconds, so I think that was a big benefactor. I don't have any clue what was good or bad about the setup that I was given. I just know that it helps. So eventually, before this game gets kind of a little outdated, I'm going to sit down and really figure out bike setups and maybe even release a guide to like what everything does and how it feels and such. It's going to feel different for everybody, I think, honestly. I don't think that there's like one magical setup out there for every track. You know, some will be better, some will be worse, of course, but everybody plays this game a little bit different. And just like it was in MX Simulator for many years, I would always tell people that asked me about bike setups in MX Sim that taking my setup in that game and just trying to, you know, like use it and do it the best of your ability is not really the best plan of attack, because, I mean, honestly, I'll play the game a lot different than most people will, I think. Man, Max Anstey appears to be glitched here. He keeps rejoining the track and getting reset. It's kind of funny. So yeah, when I do that bike setup guide, I would say don't exactly listen to everything I'd say. Just kind of take it with a grain of salt and you know, realize that what I know and what I'm trying to do are two very different things. And so, you know, what you can possibly find out in terms of bettering the gameplay ability for yourself would be a lot different than what I feel is comfortable for me. If that makes sense. I don't, you know, I'm just kind of in a roundabout way saying what works for me won't work for you, and what works for you may not work for me. If that makes sense. But yeah, just excited to kind of like get a little bit more comfortable with this game. I've been very in and out of playing it, and quite honestly, the only reason that I'm up so high in levels is I happened to release a track the first day it came out. As you guys probably saw in that video, it was called shoot, I think it's just like SYS Raceway or SYS Speedway. That's what it was called, Speedway. Released the track day one, and as this game has done in the past, kind of like with Monster Energy Supercross 2, people realize there's a track out. Maybe they realize it's tied to me. I don't know. I don't always assume that people think that my tracks are the best tracks or anything like that. But it got a lot of likes, it's got a lot of downloads, and thus it just hands me prestige and cash every time I log in. Which, like, hey, thanks guys, like, appreciate it, but it definitely is not a reflection to how often I've played this game, which isn't all that much. Like, to get to the point there where I'm in my second season in MXGP, it was pretty much just like a grind out, do quick motos and get cash so that I can level up my bike. I didn't really learn the tracks or anything special like that along the way. In fact, I'm kind of surprised that I am winning as much or by as much on this track as I was. So yeah, I need to sit down and get a little bit better at it, I would say. And then eventually I'll be able to have like a realistic, honest review of this game. Because I haven't, in my eyes, I don't think I've formed like a good enough opinion about this game to say right or wrong what's good and bad about it. my initial reactions from the game when I played it in Austria honestly have changed so much, and I think part of that is they increased the build. Like, they've released some patches and stuff like that since day one, and even leading into day one from the last pre-build I had played before they released the final copy. You know, a lot has changed, a lot about the ruts and the sliding and the performance of the motorcycle and the, you know, air physics and little things like that have changed. And I think personally for the better, because, you know, thinking back to playing it back then, I honestly was a little skeptical. I was like, man, it's a little too slippery everywhere. People are going to be pretty bummed about the ruts not hooking. The air physics are still what they are. I know that everyone's going to cry wolf that we can't do big whips in this game yet, but, you know, aside from all of, you know, the air physics talk, I was a little bit concerned that even the ground physics talk was going to get some flack. And I think that, you know, there's still some good and bad, as with any game. I just feel like I'm still sucked to the ground a little bit too much when it comes to actually taking off jumps. I think these things need to pitch you up a little bit higher. And I think the ground is just a little bit too loose. You know, like, there's some definitely big notches in the ground that I should be, like, hooking off of a lot. And I just feel like I can lay into a corner, slide the rear end in by jamming on the rear brake, and as long as I'm pretty good at feathering the throttle on corner exit, it's not really that hard to just ride over every rut. And those are things that were all problems when I played it back then, but that was infinitely, I felt, worse than it was when I first picked it up when it came out, because there were actually hookable ruts, and there was actually a little bit more touch and feel with throttle control and not sliding out literally every time you just got on the throttle a little bit. Like, it just doesn't happen that much in this game. So come around a little bit, and I think with any game this is kind of true. Like, even with All Out, I was, you know, I had a real tough time learning All Out, and then once I got semi used to it, I had a blast playing it, because there's so much you can do, so much, you know, like free riding abilities and free physic abilities, essentially. And with this game as well, like, the more I've played it and kind of almost the better I've got at it, the better it feels, if that makes sense. You know, I think a lot of people that I've seen comment negative things about the game, if I could guess, only played it for an hour or two and, you know, had those same prefabbed concerns that I had when I picked it up. And not that a game should be like oh, you have to get good at it to enjoy it type of game, you know? Like, I think that there should be some instant gratification access to a game. Like, for example, when I picked up Skate the first time it came out back in 2007 or whatever, you know, like, all I could really do was, like, flick the stick terribly and do, like, an ollie. But it was still so cool to have that, you know, ability to, you know, flick the stick and do an ollie, like, instead of just pressing a button and it did it like, you know, you would in Tony Hawk Pro Skater or something like that. So now, you know, coming to these games, it'd be almost nice if I when I picked it up immediately, something just clicked and it felt cool right away, and the more you played it, the more cool things happened. So I understand from those, you know, perspectives why when you pick it up and try to play it and it doesn't feel that cool or feel that good, that it's a little annoying. But if you do still have the game and you are still a little bit, like, on the fence or just like a general skeptic about it, I would just argue, like, you know, try a couple more hours of the game. You don't have to, like, sit down and grind it. Just try a couple things out. Try working on rear brake sliding. Work on a couple setups if you can. Get better bikes too, like stock bikes versus factory bikes. Big difference, especially when it comes to traction, acceleration, etc. So that would be my only advice to you if you're a big naysayer on this game. Would just be try it. You know, just get a little bit more used to it. I think you'll come around to it. I feel like the people that I play with have also had similar reactions to that, where day one gameplay was a lot less fun than it has been since. I felt like I've got on with a lot of my friends and people that I play this game with, and we've had a blast. And it's just, you know, it's arcadey, it's weird, but it's still a motocross game. We still love motocross, and it's fun to sit down and just goof off in one of these games every once in a while. But yeah, I think, you know, try it out. Get a little bit more used to it, kind of like I have. I'm going to try to get more videos out so you guys can kind of see my progress as well. And as a collective whole, I hope that we can come to better conclusions about what are good things and bad things about this game. Because spewing out random nonsense in the comments section is not going to be constructive criticism in which Milestone people will see and listen to and try to improve for the future games. If we come up with better detailed lists of what we like and don't like, that will help them much more. But anyway, just a little more career mode action, doing a little bit of Italian Grand Prix Pietra Marotta gameplay in the MXGP series today. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, love that you guys are watching, commenting, subscribing, whatever it is you choose to do. Appreciate it, and hope I see you guys in all the future videos here on the channel. So Kellen's saying so long for now.